For USCFootball.com, Connor Morrissette and Chris Trevino. We're here inside the Coliseum after USC beats rival UCLA 29-10. Chris, it was a tale of two halves. USC losing 10-7 at halftime, and then they outscore the Bruins 22-0 in the second half. Initial takeaways from a big win for USC to put them at 9-3 to end the regular season.
The second half Trojans strike once again. My first thought is I think fans are going to be upset we're both wearing some form of blue here, but it was a cardinal and gold event here. Obviously, the USC Trojans took this one in the rivalry game. The first time a team in this rivalry has won back-to-back games in like 5-6 years, something like that. So kudos to the team. Kudos to the fight on they displayed, because it was an ugly, ugly first half, and there was a lot of emotions in this Coliseum, a lot of stunned feeling. I was a little bit worried that USC was going to come out a little sluggish in this game, because we have seen them start slow in the first half. That has been the story of the season, but also just the emotional hangover of that Oregon loss last week, no longer in the college football playoff hunt. I was worried that you'd have some sort of hang up going to this game, and I think that's what we saw on the field. Nothing was going right for them in the first half. They found the sparks they needed to pull away. Weird game, just with the Jacoby Lane, Mekhi Lemon situation. The missed kicks from Ryan Sayre, one of the best kickers in the country. Just a weird game, but USC finds a way in the end to end at 9-3, which we think is a very successful season given what this program has gone through the last two seasons. We'll talk more about Lincoln Riley's comments, but all in all, a solid win. It's over a rival, so maybe we'll bump it up to a great win. It was an ugly one, but at the end of the day, USC is 9-3 and gets to keep the victory bell.
Totally agree with you, Chris, on that first half assessment. They look like a team that had just gotten their hearts ripped out the week before. We're no longer playing for that ultimate goal. Heard a little bit this week early on that the motivation just wasn't there, and they played like that in the first half. We've heard some of the rumors with Lincoln Riley as well, with other schools poking around him, and that first half was just kind of a culmination of a lack of motivation and some uncertainty, and that's what was so refreshing about the second half, leaving no doubt, winning 22-0 and just getting back on track. That culture that this coaching staff has talked so much about, we saw in the second half. One of the turning points in that second half, Jide Abasiri had that sack that knocked UCLA out of field goal range after they had moved the ball a little bit on one of their early drives in the second half. Mekhi Lemon, the 32-yard touchdown reception to put USC up 14-10. That was a big one. And then I thought King Miller's 41-yard run kind of put it away, and it was great to see some of the walk-ons at the end of the game as well. USC's defense, it's crazy to think, like, for all the complaints that people have, and I understand the lack of pressure in the first half, they end this game, though, with 4 sacks and a shutout in the second half. They shut out Iowa in the second half, 3 points allowed against Nebraska in the second half. Look, they've had some limitations, but I see way too many criticisms of the defensive coaching staff and people saying that this defense is terrible. The defense made more plays than last year and did a better job in these wins than last season. They allowed fewer points outside of Oregon and Notre Dame, which I know that's the next step for them, but in games against some of these offensive teams who aren't great, last year USC would give up points, and this year it's been a different story. So that, of course, is one of the big stories of this one.
Absolutely. Got to give them credit. I mean, as much as the frustrations fans had, they've done this before, obviously. We have to see how they did officially come out. They had shaken it loose because, as you were talking about, a team that just gotten the ripped out, I think they just need to come out there, feel the fans, feel UCLA, boasting about they had the lead. They were,
a little pushing and shoving at halftime.
A little pushing and shoving. UCLA's got all the vibes going into halftime. They're throwing the fight-ons down at the fans. And I think they just needed to get a little pissed off. They needed to get a little roughed up to figure out, okay, yeah, we lost last week. Let's cut that out because we have to win this game, and it's a rivalry. We got to kick their butts in the second half. And that's exactly what they did. And credit to Jide Abasiri with that huge sack to spark things. They needed a spark, Connor. There was no spark anywhere in that first half, and then Jide comes through, gets that big sack, knocks him out of field goal range, and then things picked up from there, and USC was off and running. So huge credit to the defense. They did make those plays. All in all, though, we know the front seven has to get better. We know that defensive front has to get better, and a lot of the future was in the stands tonight. Jamion Winfield, Tom Tupui, all their commits, the majority of them were in the stands tonight. So the future is coming. The future is bright in terms of the number one class coming in. We know that front seven has to get better if they want to compete with the Oregons, the Ohio States, college football playoff contenders. But all in all, I will give them credit for making those plays. 4 sacks in the second half, so kudos to them. They stepped up when they needed to in those final 32, whatever. I can't do math.
I guess we can go big picture now. There are still some lingering thoughts I have from the game as well, but that was a nice segue with the class of 2026. So many of those guys who will sign here on Wednesday. Boy, that came up quick. They were all here. Saw Sean Scott, too. He'll be part of that front seven moving forward. Lincoln Riley talked a lot about how this team was really important because it's going to build the foundation for the future here. And he talked about how when USC fans look back on the really great teams that Riley projects USC will have, they'll remember this one. Of course, you got to go out and do that. But this year, to me, I've said it a million times on the podcast, on the instant analysis videos, was all about taking a step forward and going from 6-6 to 9-3. It's not perfect, but 3 games better than you were a year ago. That is clear progress, a step in the right direction, and that to me was all that this year was. And I agree with Riley. I do feel like a foundation has been built here. It's going to be a really interesting offseason, again, as we continue to hear some links with him and other jobs. But tonight sounded the most confident, or I'm the most confident in him returning after his comments tonight. Maybe that's naive. It just seemed like he was all in on that thought of this year. Yeah, we didn't make the playoff, but it's clear what we're building, and I don't know how you can push back on that.
Those would have been absolutely crazy statements if he does leave in the next 48 hours. Those are crazy because he was all in. He was, no doubt about it. He's over there doing the Trojan sword with the band and celebrating with the fans with Jaden Mayava. All those, it felt like a man who's staying. Didn't feel like a man who's leaving. So it would be insane if all that happened. And you're right. Those rumors have been popping up. It's been a question with the college head coaching shuffle that's going on right now. I wonder if Lane Kiffin has decided by the time this instant is over. But yeah, I agree with him. He said those 2 points. This will have better teams in the future, better than this team. But this team will be one of our most important teams. I don't know if I agree with the first part yet. We still have to see him put together a better team, of course. But I do agree that this is an important team because this is something we talked about all offseason. You got the recruiting going. You got the NIL recruiting, the NIL going. You got Chad Bowden. You got the front office overhauled. You got the new facility coming. You did all you needed to do this offseason. But what was the last part? Win on the field. We knew they needed to win at least 8 games in the regular season. They went ahead and won 9. That's a great season. Chance to win 10 games in the bowl game. Probably going to be the Alamo Bowl. Whatever. That is a step forward. So I agree that this was an important important season for the Trojans after the tough losses they suffered last year to show improvement. And I think they did, as you said, 3 wins better than they were in 2024. So still a lot of issues and stuff they have to get better at. They want to compete nationally. But they were close. They were a game from being in the CFP, or at least
field goal from Illinois from being there.
Yeah, they were close, and you can hang on to that for the offseason. You're like, okay, we're almost there. You got the number 1 class. A lot of good things to build off of this season, and that's why I think this is an important team. You win 10 games, great, but 9 wins, very successful. Obviously, you want to win 10 games, but all in all, I agree with him that this was a very important team, and maybe we'll look back on one of those catalysts for USC in the future, and maybe Lincoln Riley wins a national championship or whatever. That's far off in the future. We got to kind of think about, but right now, yeah, I agree 100% that this was an important team, and they did something big here this season, winning 9 games.
And then another big picture thought for me: who are the truly elite players on this team? Makai Lemon, I'd say Jacoby Lane, I'd say Jaden Mayava, I'd say Wayman Jordan. You look at the defensive side of the ball. It was supposed to be Kamari Ramsey, supposed to be Eric Gentry. Gentry made some nice plays tonight. Kamari Ramsey has missed the last 2 games with injury, but was playing out of position. Why has the defense not been as great as we expect? Yeah, you don't want to give Danton Lynn, you don't want to absolve him, but the elite players are on offense on this team. And if they can get some more elite guys on the defensive side of the ball with this coaching staff, I continue to see people talk down about this staff. It's a damn good staff. I think when you get better players in here, which is what USC will try to do with that 2026 class in the portal, look at teams like Texas Tech and Oregon, all of their transfer portal people have hit just about. That is the next step for this program where, yeah, you want to recruit at a high level, of course, but filling in those gaps with key transfers is the next step. And looking at the defensive side of the ball, that's going to be a huge part of the offseason moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll see what they want to do and what they want to bring in with the transfer portal, specifically on defense. Maybe we'll talk about Makai Lemon and Jacoby Lane, but
that's next.
I feel like, that you need to get a number 1 receiver because I feel like both of those guys are gone. We're not going to start breaking down 2026 and all, but yeah, they do need to get some pieces, but I think they want to rely mainly on what they've been building with the high school. And again, a lot of talent coming in next season. Tom, Jamion, Talanoa Ely, linebacker, Luke Wayful. We're talking about defense because they need those elite players on the defensive side of the ball. Well, they got some coming. Obviously, those guys need to pan out still, but they put themselves in position to have some stud young guys. What about Jakeem Stewart? We got to give some love to him. He was playing really well this season.
On track to be elite, and when he is fully healthy, we'll expect him to play more. On Luke Wayful, I had a conversation with someone at USC who talked about how, look, we expect him to come in and play. So you hear sometimes, the 2026 class, they won't make an impact that first year. Their impact will be felt more in the future, of course, but there are some guys in this class who will help. Look at Tanuk Hines this year. He was a major part of what USC did on offense. But, Chris, let's get back to another key storyline tonight. So Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane violate a team rule. They don't play in the first quarter. Your thoughts?
Weird. Just obviously, some people were like, and we broke that story on our site.
Yeah, and if you freaking subscribe to USCFootball.com, you would have known that a few hours before the game. Shameless plug, but no one else had that.
He's fired up right now. But, yeah.
No one else had
just
that.
A weird start to this game and kind of, I don't know if the first half is different with them in the field. They still went down and scored on the first drive, but it just like they couldn't get anything really going. And then by the time they got back in the second quarter, they were kind of, the whole sideline was listless because you missed those kicks and you got the block kick. Yeah. So it just bad juju all around and with them sitting. So I don't know how much it would have helped. Probably a little bit, obviously, with those two guys being really talented. But yeah, just a weird story, and I'm sure more will come out about it. But right now, just simply put, as a team violation for both of those guys to sit. Tough break for those guys, but discipline has to come. And, obviously for Mekhi Lemon, who was chasing a Blitnikoff award, we thought this was going to be a game where they were going to get him the ball a lot to try to solidify that resume. Ends up with one catch for 32 yards. A really nice punt return as well. He was trying to win it all in there if he took it to the house, but yeah, just a weird start to this game and a bad juju to start in that first half. That did not help their struggles in that opening 2 quarters.
I describe it as bitterly disappointing, where two of your leaders, two of your best players on offense, that ultimate goal gets snatched away from USC, and the response from those guys was to violate a team rule that gets them suspended for the first quarter of a game. I talked about the culture at USC being in a better place, and I still feel like that's the case, but that is a massive blow to this culture that this staff has built when you have two offensive leaders who make a mistake like that and have to miss the first quarter. Of course, it didn't cost USC a loss or a win, so they ended up coming out on top, obviously, so that's a key part of it, but they messed up if they didn't play in the first quarter. Clearly, the staff made a statement, and hopefully they learned a lesson.
Doesn't that also speak to the culture as well? Just benching those guys, your star guys, not, taking them out for a series.
I mean, first quarter benching, I think if they
let's not get crazy now. It's the rivalry game.
Yeah, but if they missed the whole game, then I would agree with you. But a first quarter benching, that to me is like a slap on the wrist.
Okay, fair enough.
Jade Mayava tonight, 2 touchdown passes, no picks. Thought he was pretty good. No plays outside of the interception that was called back because of the roughing the passer and the pass interference. That was the only decision that I really didn't like from him. But he continues to, I think, show that if he comes back next year, people should be really excited about it. And I know on our website there's some people who want to see Hassan Longstreet. I get that. But tonight was another game for Mayava where he just looks like the guy next year if he comes back. It's my belief he will. And with him in the fold, that's a huge key piece of everything for USC moving forward. Longstreet could be a damn good quarterback. I don't want to take anything away from him, but the known at that position is so much better than the unknown.
If you have a known quarterback, that's so much bigger than an unknown, as you said, and you can recruit with that as well. We need to get a top wide receiver transfer. Hey, we got a guy who's one of the top quarterbacks in the Big Ten last year. He was specifically asked about the potential of returning after the game, and he said I was kind of focused on this game, this UCLA game. Celebrating the win with my family and my brothers, not really thinking about it right now. So a non-answer, but it is about that time where he's going to have to put something out there. I'm coming back, I'm not. I am in the belief that he will return, which I think will be big, obviously, for USC's offense, as 2026 is going to be a tough schedule. I'd rather have a veteran guy, a guy who I know can dominate in the Big Ten, does have some issues, develop more under Lincoln Riley, see what another growth is going to do with Jaden, with this offense, and tutelage under Lincoln Riley than a true redshirt freshman. Hassan did not play, so he is officially going to be a redshirt freshman. Probably see him a little bit in the bowl game, but overall, yeah, I would roll with number 14 as the known quantity.
A total makeshift offensive line, tonight, where Elijah Page is out because he had a procedure on his knee. So then that moves left guard Tobias Raymond to left tackle. You have Kalen Miller playing left guard, replacing Raymond. At center, Killian O'Connor's out, so John Ray Reed is in. At right guard, you have Alani Noah out, even though he was questionable and he was warming up with the first team. That puts Micah Benuelos in. And then right tackle, Justin Tauanu'u was the lone guy who started there all year. The offensive line wasn't great tonight, but on that 32-yard pass to Lemon in the corner of the end zone that went for a touchdown that put USC ahead, they held on really nicely, let that play develop. And I do give them some grace because, look, UCLA's not a good team, but being down 4 starters and playing guys out of position, it was a new offensive line combination tonight. I think you have to make that excuse, and it's a good one. Like, they were down 4 guys, and they still won by 3 scores. That's another good story, I think.
I would agree. They've had to shuffle all season, and hasn't been good shuffling. It's been injury shuffling. And, yeah, I got to give them credit. They haven't been perfect this season, weren't perfect in this game, but they did enough to be able to give Jaden time and that offense time to obviously come back and make that second half run there. So, yeah, credit to them. They did give up a sack to the worst sack team in the country. 8 sacks coming in. So
couple sacks.
Sacks. Okay, yeah, there we go. So I do think that's kind of a bad look, but you're right. It is a makeshift group. Everyone's moving around. I'm excited for what this line will look like next season with all the guys they have coming back. Elijah Page, add Kenai Pepe to the mix.
We think Page is coming back.
Yeah. So with all those in the mix and a really good offensive line class, more depth, more development. The big thing we were talking about this year, there were so many unknowns going in, and I think they obviously got some answers. We got a lot of depth developed after DJ Wingfield not being able to play. They held up really well overall during the season. Obviously had some moments, but in the end, I give this group a lot of credit for this year and a lot of credit for this game, even though it wasn't their best.
What'd you make of Alex Graham tonight? He looks like a good player for the future, huh?
Yeah, I was noting guys in the first half because there were so few that had juice. I was looking at guys who were giving juice, and Alex Graham was one of those guys giving juice. Christian Pierce giving juice. Eric Gentry giving juice. I didn't see any really juice on the offensive side of the ball. Those 3 guys jumped out in the first half, and Alex Graham, true freshman, making his first career start. Christian Pierce had a lot of praise for him after I asked him, what'd you think? He's like, yeah, he's going to be really good, really happy with the way he played. Obviously not the season that he wanted. He was about to start the first year, ends up starting the last game of the season. It's how football works with those injuries. But, yeah, I think Alex Graham is going to be a really good player, and I think he had a really nice Coliseum debut here as a starter.
Let's just go rapid fire real quick. 2026 projection, which is crazy to do with the portal. I understand. We both think Mayaba's back. At running back, do you think Wayman Jordan comes back?
Yes, because I think the injury – I think if he would have finished with 1,000 yards, I think he was gone. But the injury, we did see him warm up here. Did not suit up. Did not play, obviously, but doing warm up sounds like he's close. Maybe the bowl game. He'd have to run for 500 yards in the bowl game for me to think he's leaving. But I think he's back. Nothing's set in stone though.
I like Mayava. I like Wayman Jordan. I like King Miller. I like the fact that they're bringing back every offensive lineman except for Big General Reed. Maybe center is a concern just because Killian O'Connor can't stay healthy. Another year of development for all those guys is great. We know Lemon is probably gone. It sounds like you think Lane is gone. They have a hole at wide receiver. Tanu Kynes comes back. You have some good freshmen. That'll be somewhere they target in the portal. Lake McCree moves on. But Mark Bowman, 4-star, 5-star in some places, tight end, comes in. Walker Lyons, if he returns, that's a room that I like. Maybe they get another guy from the portal. Here's what I'll say on the offense. I don't think they have a ton of stuff they need outside a receiver. That's probably the biggest need, but I like that mixture right there. I think that's a good core.
Everything you said, I take, but I still think you need an alpha wide receiver. Go find an alpha. Go pay a guy, get him in here. You have Tanook, who's going to be a really nice wide receiver too. Mm-hmm. Prince Strachan, Zacharias Williams. I don't know what's happening with Prince Strachan. I don't know about them, but those are 2. Zacharias Williams is a young guy. You can bolster with those guys. Booby Feaster, maybe he's a guy to help you. Luke Weaver, yeah. There's some young guys that can compete, but I still think you need an alpha. I don't think there's a true alpha right now. I think Tanu could be an alpha, but I still like another year for him to kind of take on just a slightly more role slightly bigger role, for 2026 and kind of be that sidekick to an older guy.
Let's go defense quickly. Edge rusher, big hole, I think. You need to add a real key guy there with Anthony Lucas moving on, but Braylon Shelby projects to be back. Cam Crawford projects to be back. You have some good young players behind them, but that's an area that I want to see some guys added. The defensive line, I don't know if they have a big space eater outside of Jamal Jarrett, but they have a lot of guys coming back where Floyd Boucard and Jakeem Stewart and Jade Abasiri, Devin Tompkins could come back. I'm sure I'm missing some other guys. Carlin Jones played a little bit at the end of the year. They have some good bodies there. You hope with another year of another year of development that those guys will continue to make strides, but maybe it wouldn't hurt to add someone there. I guess I'll give your thoughts before we keep moving, but I just want to do this really quick. I think this is important.
Yeah, I think edge rusher, you do need to bring somebody in. I mean, you're bringing Luke Wayfield in, but I don't want to rely on a true freshman to be your guy. Yeah. Cameron Crawford, you hope makes the jump. Mm-hmm. Braylon Shelby, you hope makes another step forward if he comes back. I really hope they get Devin back because I think you need a veteran like that in the middle to go with Floyd Boucard, to go with sophomore Jakeem Stewart, to go with junior Jade Abasiri, who's done some nice things. Obviously had the 2 big sacks today. So I think I would love to get number 8 back if you're USC's defensive line. And then you're getting Tom Time, you're getting Jamion, you're getting Simote Katawanga, who I think is going to need a little bit more time. But you got some dudes you're bringing in for depth. I think with Jamal Jarrett is the big question mark. You're losing Keyshawn Silver, you're losing Kobe Pepe, you're losing your heavy boys.
Yeah, you need a big guy.
I think you need to go back and get a nose tackle to pair with Jamal Jarrett. You hope Big Jaw coming back from the injury, he can give you something because it was just so inconsistent this year. Didn't play at all. I don't know how injured he was, coming into the year that needed to be fixed. We'll always have the thick 6, but you need more out of him. He has potential, but I think you need to go get another big veteran space eater to pair with some of the young talent and some veteran guys you can come back.
So if you're keeping track at home, that's 3 impact guys we want to see from the portal: a receiver, an edge rusher, not sure what that was, and then a interior defensive lineman. The other one, the 4th marquee guy I want to see added is a linebacker. Eric Gentry moves on. You get some guys coming back: Desmond Stevens, Jaden Walker, Tamir Robinson. I'm sure I'm missing some other guys, but one really important man in the middle would help. And then in the secondary, I kind of like what they have coming back, even though there's not a ton of established depth there. They've recruited that position pretty well. Someone will pop at corner. That competition will be better. Safety, Kennedy Urlacher, Christian Pierce. Maybe Alex Graham moves back to a natural safety spot. I don't think you need to go out of your way to really hit a home run in the secondary because I like those young pieces.
I like Christian Pierce. I asked him, do you feel like this is your secondary moving forward? He's like, yeah, I feel like a leader on this team. I feel like, he's taken more of that role. Obviously, he's been starting with Bishop and Kamari kind of banged up. So I really like what Christian Pierce did this season. Kennedy Urlacher, I think he's a bright star, needs just more time and playing time, and looks like he's going to get it next season. I could see them looking at bringing in another veteran corner. Mm-hmm. Maybe not a star guy, but just someone that can help out, because you do have a lot of young guys coming in. This is a huge cornerback class. Elbert Hill, a lot of people are Gerard's really excited about him. I know you're big on him too. Tough task to be a starter, but entirely possible. You're going to get Chasen Johnson back, who has a lot of NFL potential. Still pretty young though, so I think you have a nice little secondary core. I think you're a little bit better than you were, or your talent has risen considerably compared to this year. I could see maybe a little bit more safety help because they don't have a lot of safeties in this class. They don't have any safeties in this class, so I could see them bringing another veteran, and they have been pretty well at least getting one guy out of the transfer portal from that position.
Ryan Sayre kind of limped to the finish this year, but a great year for him at kicker. He'll be back. They need a new punter, and that's the roster breakdown. I think that's going to do it, Chris.
I think that is going to do it. Good win.
Good win. Good season, going 9-3. Talked about it earlier. He's Chris Trevino. I'm Connor Morrissette. This has been Instant Analysis from USC's 29-10. Was that the final score? 29-10 win over UCLA. Sounds like they're going to be in the Alamo Bowl. We'll confirm that next weekend when we get that information. Thanks for tuning in, as always, and we'll see you next time.